Hey guys, my name is Tom, this is T Discovery, and today I'm doing a product review of the 24-inch carbon fibre stabiliser by Neewer. I bought this on Amazon for $58.99, which is probably one of the cheapest stabilisers you can get, but at that price point, let's go and see what it can do. I'll be right back. Okay, so jumping straight into this, I have got the stabiliser set up and balanced with my Canon 6D Mark I and the Canon 16-35 f4 lens. I've set it up and I've balanced it already. So as you can see, it's not rocking around too much. Probably could do with a bit of fine tuning. The one thing I did find is that the weights that are included in this stabiliser, they actually give you 6 of them altogether. There's one like double-sized weight and 2 single weights. I'm only actually using 2 of the double-sized weights on this setup with this amount of weight. I actually found it surprisingly easy to set up and balance the first time round. I just added these 2 initial weights, put my gear on the top and started adjusting the top balance of the slider. One feature that I really do like about the quick release plate that they've included on this stabilizer is that when you actually put the plate into the receiver and you slide it back and forth, there is actually a pin that stops the whole plate from sliding straight off the front or the back. Which I think is a really nice feature because not all of these have got those included. Manfrotto is sort of one of the leaders, I think, for doing that. And it is really nice to see that kind of feature in here, just in case, you know, you tilt forward a little bit before you've tightened these knobs up properly and your camera could slide straight off the front, lens first into the floor, which has actually happened to me before. The only thing you might want to buy and add to this, which I may do in the future, is you may want to buy a secondary quick release plate for this and mount it on top of the actual quick release plate that they give you with this. It would probably just make it easier to sort of switch your camera between different tripods and the stabilizer, so you can just snap that straight off and you don't have to keep rebalancing this every time you take it off. So the one thing I did notice when I mounted my Tamron lens, which I'm actually using to film this now, when I mounted that on this plate, the lens is so fat that I couldn't actually manually adjust the focus because the focus ring was actually rubbing against the bottom of the plate there, so there was no way you could move it. Raising that up on a smaller different tripod quick release plate, that'd probably solve that issue, but as it is, this one works fine. I can move the zoom, that's actually the zoom, so I wouldn't really move that on here anyway, but the focusing ring on this 16-35 is at the front, which is clear of the actual plate itself. It was just an issue with the Tamron that I couldn't move this this ring here, which is actually the focusing ring on the Tamron lens. I've done my drop test, which as you can see is pretty smooth. It's not, I don't think that's too fast. It's usually 2 seconds and usually people go 1, 2. So I mean that seems pretty good to me. It's pretty smooth. It's dropping pretty well. Maybe could be a little faster or have a little extra weight on there, but as you can see, it's got an adjustable sled on the bottom, so you can undo this knob here, and the knobs are actually spring loaded as well, so if you're finding that you can't turn it because one of the screws is blocking it, you can just pull it out and actually turn the knob independently of the screw itself, and that's the same for this one on the back here, which I think is a really good feature. I mean, it doesn't, the spring that's holding it on doesn't feel like it's the strongest thing, and it may break after a while, but I mean, what can you expect for this price point? The weights on the bottom, they do move back and forth. I've just put mine as far out as I can possibly get them. I don't really know whether that's the correct way to do it, but it seems to be working for me. I've only dropped this sled a small amount to counter the weight on the top, so again, you can see it is dropping fairly slowly there, fairly well. This base plate is made of metal, the weight's metal, and it's got these nice little sort of rubber feet on the bottom as well, so if you do need to put it down on a surface or something like that, it's not going to scratch or damage or anything, it'll just stay there on its own. The gimbal on this one's got a really fluid motion. It's moving really well. I can move it around, and you know, it's not causing any. I've seen some people who've got them who when they move the handle up and down like this, the whole thing wants to tilt to the side following the thing, but the bearings in this and this gimbal seems really smooth, so you know, I can't fault it at all. It does seem like a decent piece of kit. So you never really want to be flying these stabilizers just with one hand, you know, walking around like this. You always should really have two hands on them. So what I like to do, which I found works quite well for me, it does take quite a bit of practice to get perfect shots. I was surprised the first time I actually used this, I managed to get what I think is a really smooth shot, going down some stairs and through a couple of rooms. So what I do when I'm actually flying the camera, I'll put my index finger just above the gimbal here, and then I'll pinch just underneath with my thumb and my middle finger, very lightly, just so that if you're doing a sort of panning motion, you can control the camera somewhat. What I have found when using this, and this probably goes for all other stabilizer, I actually took this down Cardiff Bay, which you might have seen in my first video. I'll put some of those shots up on screen now, just to give you an idea of what they turned out like. But what I found was that with a lot of wind down there, it was, you know, the wind was pushing the lens around, kind of like a weather vane, you know. So it was a bit more tricky to control and keep in thick, because you had to apply a bit more pressure to the actual stabilizer itself, which gave you sort of, you know, it wasn't as free moving as it normally would be, because you had to try and keep the lens pointing where you wanted it to. So that is one downside of these, is that they can be affected by strong winds and things like that. So if you're in the market for one of these stabilizers, like I was for a long time, and I just couldn't justify spending £300 or £400 on a glide cam, I would highly recommend purchasing one of these Neewer stabilizers. It's £60, less than £60 on Amazon. It was free delivery when I got mine, but that might be just for Prime members, I don't know. But yeah, go out and buy it, mount your camera on you, and go out and start shooting. So guys, I'll leave it at that for today. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, think about subscribing, and feel free to leave any comments or questions down below if you need to know anything specific that I've missed out about this stabilizer. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters!